Welcome, everyone, to this is a wonderful event for District 38 to co-host with Fred Rohrbach, the Club Growth Director in District 13. I got to know him this past year. He is a wealth of information. And welcome to Cheryl Roush, who is accredited speaker for Toastmasters DTM. And myself, Ann Golden, DTM Speechcraft Coordinator for District 38. The three of us will make up the panel tonight for the discussion, and you are in for a treat. We have two powerhouses with us tonight. You're going to get your questions answered. So to begin, I'm going to begin sharing. It's going to be an interactive question and answer, but we did post in the registration some questions, and I downloaded them earlier today. If you registered late and had a question, please put it in the chats to make sure that we address it when we're at that point. But let me begin by sharing my screen. And this will be our agenda for tonight for the question categories. Here comes District 66. We're going to initially discuss purchasing and participant costs. I will be covering that. Then I will also talk about qualifications and intellectual proprietary property. Age group for Speechcraft program will be a short little bit of information about that. Time, task, and energy management. Cheryl will be discussing hosting a Speechcraft program and marketing for success. And the hosting of the Speechcraft program might be interactive between the three hosts. We're going to see how that all works out. It's going to be really interesting. And then Fred's going to cover best practices and a Speechcraft Blitz. And you're going to find out what that Speechcraft Blitz is all about. That is exciting. Briefly cover digital bundle cost because that was in one of the questions. How much is the digital bundle? It's $50 for 5 participants. For each 5 participants, you need to buy an additional bundle. Next, how much does it cost for the participants? That's up to the club to decide. I go into detail in my Speechcraft coordinator. This is just going to be an overview. We don't have time to delve into the individual details, but how much does it cost for participants? It's $50, it's $10 per person, but it's up to the club to decide because there's other costs that can be put into there. And can a club conduct a Speechcraft program for an organization for free? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. That is your option. Some people do it for social organizations that they're trying to help out. And a question came in, can I use Toastmasters gift certificates to purchase the bundle? Yes, you may. You don't have to pay for it if your club has a gift certificate to Toastmasters. And, our districts love to give us those district bucks. You could use it for that because it's an educational program that you're offering to your members. Moving right along, because we want to get interactive with you, is who can purchase the digital bundle? You must be a Toastmaster to purchase bundle. And you must be a Toastmaster in good standing from a club in good standing to be able to purchase the bundle. There's different ways you can have these Speechcraft sessions. It can be in person or virtually. I recommend the virtual because you have 5 participants, but in some cases, and Cheryl can speak to that, in person is a great way to hold it. And people ask, well, do they really need to bring their laptops to the session if we're doing it in person? Well, they may want to, because they may want to sit down with their guides and have their guides help them navigate their portal in the Speechcraft, because it's similar to Pathways portal. And so the guide doesn't really have to, the guides don't have access to the Speechcraft portal behind the scenes, but they can very easily sit with the Speechcrafter and guide them through the process of to navigate through that so that they can access their materials and what they need to do. This is a biggie. There's a lot of live streaming for meetings out there, especially in the international world. And this question comes up. Can I do live streaming of the Speechcraft sessions? No, you cannot. It is proprietary intellectual property. The Speechcraft portal behind the scenes is proprietary, and you cannot do live streaming of the sessions. That's a big no-no. We need to protect our Toastmasters intellectual property. And what materials do I need? You'll find out when you come to the Speechcraft coordinator training. There are lots of materials. It is on the Speechcraft portal, and I provide lots of information with that. And I will give you a copy of the handout that I provide, which provides all the links for the resources on Toastmasters International website that you can retrieve to help you prepare. I've had questions about when I go into depth about the Speechcraft session, about how do I prepare for it? How long does it take? Can I start this up in 2 weeks? No. I created a timeline starting with today just to give you an idea that if you want to start your Speechcraft at the end of January, you need to start now. There is a lot of prep work on the coordinator that involves a lot of time. There are a lot of tasks. You need to go into the Speechcraft portal and review that material. There are videos, there are slides, there's planning, and there's coordinating for the Speechcrafter. But as the coordinator, you also need to understand what the Speechcrafter themselves are going to look at in the portal. And once you purchase the bundle and you get you save your purchase code, which is your order number, and you use that to access the Speechcraft portal, there is tons of information, and there are a variety of ways of retrieving that information. And my Speechcraft coordinator training goes into depth about how to access that virtually one way, because when I initially accessed it, it was going all over the place, and I found out I simplified it for myself, and there was one place that I strictly went to and I could access everything. So to save yourself time, I go into detail into that. But this is just strictly an overview. And there is a lot of time and energy management into this. There's organization that you need to do to make sure that you are organized for each session, because each session has its own set of materials. I cover the organization of that to help you to organize your files, to have easily access to that. And you need to solicit volunteers for your guides. You need to give them an opportunity. So this gives you the timeline for that. And it's very involved, but it's well worth your time. And it's such, I was energized after it. And I love doing Speechcraft sessions because the people attending who are non-Toastmasters, to see them start and to see where they end, it's just enlightening. It's just enlightening. And you're sharing your knowledge with non-Toastmasters. It's the most wonderful thing you can do for another human being, is to share your knowledge with them and to help them improve. So this is a timeline for what you need to do as far as preparing for the workshop. You need at least 6 to 8 weeks before you even hold your first Speechcraft session to set everything up, to plan it properly, to organize it, to have your volunteers, to get your Speechcraft guides. Oops. And that is the end of my portion of the presentation. I am holding another Speechcraft coordinator training on December 11th, which is Monday, from 6 to 8:30. I have there where you can register. I will drop the link in the chat. And that's the end of my presentation. is there any questions on what I said so far? Cheryl?
There are. Thank you. And thank you. We do have a couple of questions here, including from Ruth regarding how do you describe Speechcraft to a corporation? So if you and Fred would like to address that, and then I'll chime in, go ahead. That's the first question of two.
All righty. Well, you know what? I've been doing a lot of talking, and this is a shared effort, so I'm going to defer to Fred. Fred?
Thank you, Anne, and thank you for your presentation, and good evening, everyone. Speechcraft, of course, is the miracle drug. Bayer ain't got nothing on us, boys and girls. We got a miracle drug, and it's called Speechcraft. It's called Speechcraft. As a club growth director, I do go out and visit with corporations, and of course, no surprise, during the conversation, somehow we managed to land on the topic of Speechcraft. Imagine that. And the way I represent it, the way I present it is, hey, there are many ways to get to the minimum 20 you need to charter a club. You know, one of the companies I'm working with right now, they've already got 20 plus. I have another company, it's in 3 different major cities. They're thinking they may have 40 plus. We'll find out. So pushing Speechcraft, well, we can do that, but I don't really need to. A couple of other companies that I'm working with, they don't have the number 20. So I put together a number of tools in terms of, well, how do we generate interest in becoming a club? Well, one of them is, why don't we grab 5 people who are influencers, however that's defined for that corporation, and let's run a Speechcraft for them. What would the impact be if we got 5 influencers in that company super excited about Toastmasters because of their Speechcraft experience? Do you think those 5 influencers would then excite some more folks? We might need to do another one. We might be able to do just a real quick, short and dirty. There's so many options available, but I like to use Speechcraft to sell the sizzle. Number 1 step in selling is you never serve the steak. You don't dump all the candy or all the toys and let them pick. No. You sell the sizzle. And how do you do that? Well, you get them excited by having experiential learning. And Speechcraft is one of the ways we can do that. It's a very powerful way. Almost guaranteed to get that group who was thinking to actually committing to chartering a club. Those are some of my thoughts. And Cheryl, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you. So I just had, and thank you. I hope you took notes during Fred's comments. That was absolutely outstanding. So yesterday I had a Zoom with Pat Johnson, who wrote the handbook on corporate programs. And it's interesting because she reminded me of a couple of things. That is the Bible. Thank you very much. I absolutely love that. I kind of have it memorized since I published that book. I designed it for her. So there you go. But I am not a substitute for her. I have great respect for everything that she has done because she comes from the corporate world. So it's interesting that when you ask a question of how do you describe Speechcraft to a corporation, do not call it a club, because then it gets shifted out of human relations and education into like social and well-being. Pat and I had a great discussion on that, and that's exactly the reference that she used for it. So it is an educational training program to enhance communication and leadership skills. Thank you, Sue. Look, if you have a copy of the book, hold it up in the gallery. This is fabulous. All right. I love this. Thank you. We have A students in here tonight, Anne. I tell you, this is fantastic. So it's different languaging. And I don't know, Fred, if you can pull up, or Sue, you can pull up what page. The languaging is very different from a community club or a specialty club versus a corporation's training program. Now, it's different than when we have a community club that is hosted inside the location of a corporation. That's different. When we're talking about corporations, we're talking about that the corporation usually invests in the employees coming to the program that they, under contract, need to ensure 20 or 25 members at all time and they're not even members, sorry, they're employees in that training program at all times. So one of the great ways to use a Speechcraft program to launch a program inside of a corporation is exactly what Fred was suggesting to do, is to have those 5 influencers. And if you really want to be bold, start at the top and get managers and supervisors inside of that corporation to be those first Speechcraft participants. Now we call them speech crafters. Inside the corporation, you may say the first trained in the program. So again, that's a whole nother can of worms right there, but that was an outstanding question to launch us in that. So be really mindful of the words that you're using for community versus Speechcraft. And the second question here, and Natalia, thank you. You asked about hybrid. So let me go back into the chat here and see what your question was. Is it wise to offer hybrid Speechcraft sessions? The answer here is yes, because it is interactive. It is set up to be an interactive type of program where, yes, they are in person, or if it's going to be virtual, online, as well as the hybrid, because then things are also put into the gateway. So there's a lot of immersion, if you will. And so absolutely, yes. I'll tell you a story, quick story, because like Jen, I think it was, or was it Carlos? Thank you, Carlos, that the first time that you held Speechcraft, you said that it was in person. So Carlos, thank you for that. When I was back in San Diego, I just moved to New York a couple of years ago, but in San Diego, I went to a networking, a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and a woman came up to me and she asked me questions. Oh, you own a graphic design studio. What are your challenges? Well, it's giving people, my employees feedback. I wanted to be a better boss. So she said, she asked me questions. So if you're talking about how do you get people to participate and enroll in a Speechcraft series to begin with, find out what their needs are. Find out what their needs are. What are their problems? How are we the solution to what it is that they need? She heard me. She listened to me. And she said, you might be interested in this 8-week communication skills series. Write that down. Communication skills series. That's another way that you sell it to corporations. Boom, mic drop. All right, so there it is, because that's words that they can understand. Don't call it a club. Don't call them members, employees in this training program, in this communication skills series. So that's how you can really promote that. And yes, go ahead and let them bring their laptops. We're finding that the majority of members coming into our organization are of younger age groups. And then a couple of us who are facilitating the session, and that they may need to, thank you, my colleagues are smiling, thank you, we may need to tailor this for them. So here's another tip, whether it be for corporation or community, and I think we need to also answer the question here about how do we bring this into a club and into a regular club meeting, and how do we host such a program in the community? Let's go there next as well. So then if they're coming into the club situation, then have it hosted during a club meeting. That way, if you want to boost your membership, that's how you do it, is have it during a regular course of the meeting. So those are a couple of great questions on that. And hybrid, yes, because most of us have a smart device everywhere we go these days. So why not embrace it? Great. Anne, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Oh,
Great
so anyway,
responses.
I joined, by the way. So I did join that 8-week communication skills series. It was called Speechcraft, and I'm here 36 years later.
That's how she became a Toastmaster.
Mm-hmm. I joined that day. I'm like, whatever this is, I'm in. Fred, I wanted the candy. I wanted the membership. I wanted the applause. I wanted the sizzle. I wanted huevos rancheros at 7 a.m. at the Mexican restaurant. Okay, Anne, back to you.
All right. Well, I want to go back to Fred as well. Community clubs. Fred, for community clubs, what's the best way to offer this program for a community club? How would they get started?
There's a number of ways of doing it. This segues very nicely. Thank you, Anne, for teeing this up so beautifully. You know, what happens in February and March in the Toastmasters calendar besides contests? Cheryl had something. She was on mute.
Oh, and I said it really quietly, hoping somebody else would say it.
Come on,
Youth
folks.
leadership program. Dues.
I heard leadership. I heard dues. I didn't hear the third one.
Talk Up Toastmaster.
What is that?
Oh, that's a
A
great
membership
marketing.
drive. Now, doesn't it make sense if Speechcraft was created for bringing in new members that maybe we time our Speechcraft events around membership drives? How many membership drives do we have every year?
Great.
3. So my challenge to District 13, I'm the club growth director again. We're not as strong as we need to be. My challenge is for every club in January, February, March to run Speechcraft. Every single club. What would happen if every single of our 60 clubs would run at least one Speechcraft in January, February, March? Do you think we'd be given some ban? Do you think we would clean out Toastmasters of all their Talk Up Toastmaster ribbons? Well, probably not. But we'd sure make a dent in it, wouldn't we? Now, what would happen when's the next membership drive in the Toastmasters year?
It's May through June.
Exactly. And which one is that?
Beat the clock.
Beat the clock. What would happen if those same clubs did that as well? And then moving forward, you get where I'm going, August, September. If we can get all of our clubs to run at least 1, 2, or 3 of these programs during the year, wow. Toastmasters wouldn't have a issue with membership anymore. We wouldn't have a problem with achieving our DCP goals for either education or membership. So the question was, how do we get community clubs excited? Well, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm going to clubs that are floundering and said, how's about, that's Pittsburgh slang, how's about, did you like that? Yeah, that kind of nice little seasoning there. What would happen if I run the first one for you with the condition that you're going to run the second one? No surprise that in December, I'm running number 8 for this year. In January, I'm running number 9 and 10. In February, I'm running 11 and 12. March, I'm running 13 and 14. And I'm doing it with different clubs because I want these clubs that are not having regular speakers, or maybe they don't have enough members, or they're lethargic, they've lost the excitement. I want them to see and experience what Speechcraft can do, because it is a miracle drug. So by us leading the way and saying, hey, let's do this, and of course we do this at the club level. This isn't something we can do at the district or division or area. This has got to be done at the club level. So I'm going to the clubs, the club officers. I just happen to be the guy that's running it, but I'm training them, because I tell all folks, if you want to run a Speechcraft, doesn't it make sense that you first be a participant? Doesn't it make sense that you get your Speechcrafter ribbon, if there is a one, and do it as a participant? There's a lot to learn about Speechcraft. So if you can learn from the participant side, so I recommend community clubs, if you haven't done this, or maybe you did it pre-COVID and you're doing the old system, hey, things have changed. There's a new system. Let's get you suited up, matched up with somebody who's an experienced facilitator, coordinator. Let's get the folks who want to run these in the future. Let's have you go through it the first 1 or 2. And then, now we've got clubs, one of the clubs in our area, Altoona Club, Allegheny Mountains is their name. They went to the local chamber. Joe Hurt is the president there and said, have we got a deal for you, Joe? Let's offer this program. And so they ran Speechcraft with 2 cohorts concurrently. So one of the club officers ran a group with 5, and the other club officer ran the other group. None of them were Toastmasters. One of them joined. The other ones are very intrigued. And the chamber has said, we want you to do this every 3 months. Wow. So there are many ways of doing it. Again, I'm starting with the clubs, getting them up to speed. They went ahead and went to the chamber and said, we want to do it. And the chamber loved it and said, we're going to offer this on a regular basis. Toastmasters has a saying, and I may be stealing somebody's thunder here, but clubs that run Speechcraft usually don't have a problem with membership.
That's true.
They also don't have a problem with achieving DCP goals. I firmly believe that if districts would run 3 of these per club for the majority of their clubs during the year, they'll be a President Smedley distinguished district.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you cannot be distinguished if you're running at least 2 Speechcraft. And if you're running 3, I think you have a very good chance of being a President's distinguished. And you get enough Presidents distinguished in your district, you now have a Smedley district. And that's what I'm shooting for.
I have a question for you, Fred. A couple of things regarding how, for the Chamber of Commerce, what was the fee to the Chamber of Commerce to participate in a Speechcraft? And for the ones that you are currently doing, what are we talking about as far as what the Speechcrafter fee is? And I know one of the questions is, who gets to participate and how is it paid? Can you answer those questions for me? Those are my questions. Mm-hmm.
When I buy a Speechcraft, when you buy a Speechcraft cohort, you get, as Ann said, 5 seats. So we're putting down $50 plus in PA, there's a state tax for the processing. So it's $53. I just tell my participants, hey, Zelle me $10. Zelle is just a bank-to-bank easy way to reimburse somebody. And I collect that the second and third sessions. So I just tell folks up front, hey, there's a $10 person fee. We do it via Zelle, bam. Now, Ann will explain, or perhaps you, Cheryl, will explain what some of the other guidelines are, because you can charge more than that. But what I charge, just to keep it simple, is $10. My understanding of what the club did up in Altoona with the chamber is they charge $10. I got to confirm that, but I think they just charge the same. It just reimburses our fee.
Okay, thank you. All right, so there is TI policy on that, and the policy is that a maximum of 1 year of dues paid would be the maximum per person that it would be that they could be charged, which means that, well, okay, let's say, and here's my strategy in how to charge is that, yes, it's $10 for the reimbursement for the materials, which the club does pay and the club pays for. Then it could be the new member fee, and then it could be a little bit more on that. Typically, when I'm working with and mentoring, I am not coordinator, so that the person who is a coordinator can receive credit toward a distinguished Toastmaster. I will mentor them from the sidelines, but I am not going to serve as a coordinator. That I suggest $50 to $60 to $70 for the Speechcrafter, the person who is not a member who is participating in the series, whether it be 4, 6, or 8 weeks. So again, you have that option when you do that. And that the fees should really be done through a club treasury instead of in individual. TI has some fundraising policies on that and how to handle the funds, because it's not, well, anyway, I'm a past district governor, but I won't go into all of that. So we're looking at, and the marketing strategy is, what is it worth? And the value perceived we create. If we say, oh, it's only $10, we're not valuing our own program. Sorry, we're not. And this is the Speechcraft program is one of TI's trademarked intellectual educational programs. And it needed to be shifted to that you had to be a current member of a current club, because people who were not members were going into our bookstore, purchasing a lot of products, reproducing them illegally, black market, and they were selling the programs and profiting as an individual, which is absolutely forbidden. So, Anne goes into this in detail regarding the policies and procedures and the money and the fundraising and everything else. So it can be used as a fundraiser. However, the money goes to the club and it must be used for educational purposes, period. Not like what my home club tried to do, was to throw the Christmas party. Oh, slap your hand. Anyway, I said, here's what you can do. is to use it for materials that the club needs, a new banner, marketing the club, designing brochures, paying for that printing. Yes, you can, to help support and to grow the club. And did you want to go there for a second, and anything else regarding policy that would be very helpful for us to remember?
Yes. When you purchase that bundle, you really need to pay attention to what you're agreeing to. In the legal messaging section of it, there is a protocol. There's a policy 4.0, protocol 5.0, and the fundraising, which is 8.2, protocol 8.2. You need to really adhere and read that information. It's sponsored at the club level, is where it's supposed to be done. Districts and areas and divisions cannot sponsor, and that's why Fred does it through the different clubs. He's more or less sponsoring it through the individual clubs. It's not the district doing it. And that's one of the main criteria of it, because it is a club function. The purpose of it is to increase your membership. And there are different views, as you've seen here tonight. It is a trademark of Toastmasters, and you can charge more for it and promote it more. Now, I ran it for a nonprofit organization that came to the district. It really wasn't through my club. It was through the district that it came to me. So I only charged them the cost of the bundle, and the funds came through me. Now, what I would do differently now that I've studied more into it, I would go through the sponsoring club. But if they're going to become members, because you have a better chance of them becoming members if you do it through the club. So I hope I clarify that. There are two ways of doing it, and it's well, there's not two ways of doing it. I'm not phrasing that properly.
It's almost like there's 3 or 4, right?
Right.
Because you could host this program as a gesture to the community, as a charity, and that the club absorbs the fee for the digital bundle. It could be at cost, as in $10 a person. It could be the $50 to $60 per person, and call it a tuition, because then, and it includes, Fred, I think you'll like this part, it includes dues up to the next renewal period. And how Pat Johnson suggests is that your practicing continues through this date that was included in your tuition. That's how you get people to convert from a speech crafter into a member. And they've already completed their 5 first pathways projects in level 1. Why wouldn't they continue? And when you hold it inside of your own club, they get to know you, because every club has its own personality. So people want to join. They want to become part of something that they feel good and welcomed about. That's probably why I joined on the very first meeting when I walked through those doors 36 years ago. You know, I felt welcomed. I felt like I was a part of something, and they were so much fun, and they applauded at everything. Little did I know I'd have to give my icebreaker the next week. I cried the whole time, by the way. I had 19 ahs, and it was ugly. I was holding on to the lectern as if for dear life. So if I can have such transformation in my own life, we know that other people are facing their fears too. So thank you. All right. So Mary Jo has a question here, and it says, let's see. Go. Well, let's see. I'm skipping ahead. So Sue Brooks, thank you. All right. So thank you. Sue is asking, any special legal considerations for collecting fees from speech crafters through our treasurer if the club is online only and does not have a bank account? You can absolutely create funding to go into the club better through the treasurer, then just keep things clean. I think Ann will agree with that. Just keep it clean there, and be really careful not to collect cash. All right. So, all right, Natalia, thank you. If I need DTM credit, should I pay for it myself and serve as coordinator for one of my 3 clubs, as you are a member of 3? The answer is yes. I think it's from all 3 of us. Yes, because especially if this is the only requirement that you still need to earn your distinguished Toastmaster, do it. Boy, it's such a great learning experience. All right. So then she also asked, please explain 2 coordinators receiving credits for 2 club. Is that possible? Yes. And if you want to talk about what happens when you have more than 5 people registering, because that relates to Natatia's question.
Yes, I had this question before. Yes, you can. And when you have to make sure that the coordinators are from the sponsoring club. They can be from the same club. You can have 2 clubs sponsor a Speechcraft, and you would need a coordinator from each of the sponsoring clubs. So you can have each of them. And that works out well because ideally Toastmasters suggests that for every 8 participants, you have 1 coordinator. I can tell you I did it for 10. It's a lot of work. I wish I only did it for 5. It's a lot of, I don't want to say it's a time investment. I shouldn't say it's a lot of work. It's time investment is what it is. And you want to share the load. Yes, Ruth, I'm learning. I'm learning. It's time investment. As Fred and Cheryl are laughing, it's time investment and you want to share the load. So you want to keep it simple for yourself and do it for 5 Speechcrafters. And if you get more than 5, you want to bring in another coordinator. And if that means having another coordinator from your club or another club sponsoring it, it's very valuable that way. And I want to go to Mary Jo Solomon. Mary Jo, you had a question, but you said Fred. So I assume you have a question for Fred. What was it?
It's shown later in the chat. I happened to hit return after I typed Fred.
Okay.
I thought I heard that he might recommend or even suggest that you be a participant in the Speechcraft program and use that almost like a student teaching training. Did I hear that correctly? And then
Yes, you did.
Later on become a Speechcraft coordinator?
It is, because when you open up Speechcraft and you jump in for the first time, and you actually go to the coordinator, and I like the word facilitators, I think that's more accurate, but regardless, there are wonderful resources. The actual curriculum, when you look at your screen, I think there are 11 different tiles. I now call those little boxes tiles. They're cards on the TI website, but they're tiles in Speechcraft. Ooh. Extra words per Scrabble game. Yes, yes. But when you look at the screen and you see all of these options, my goodness, there's a lot to look at, which is why I also say in terms of best practice, as Anne had suggested, you need to give yourself a lot of lead time before you jump into your first Speechcraft. And it's not that it's so complicated, it's just that there are so many wonderful resources. Because you're the expert, when you say I do, and you're going to be leading this program, you need to be able to help folks work through the curriculum. So what does that mean? Well, there's a whole set of modules. They're little icons, 10 of them, for the Speechcrafters that are a condensation of the Speechcraft pathways. So for instance, the very first one is introduction. Then it gets into select a topic. And then how do you present and vocal variety and evaluate and feedback? They are top shelf. And I will just say this, the little icon, the little crash course they have on evaluation and feedback is the best I've seen anywhere. And I've been in this business a long time. It is top shelf. Oh my gosh, it's good stuff. Now, those little icons take 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. If somebody's experienced, it's not going to take them a lot of time. But regardless, we want our Speechcrafters to go through all of that. Well, as the coordinator, facilitator, you need to go through that, because if somebody has a question, you need to know, well, if you look at icon number 3, and it has wonderful resources, you need to go through all of the resources they have in the upper right corner when you're in that Speechcraft portal. And you actually have one of those icons, one of those lesson plans open. In the upper right corner is the word resources, and there are PDF files. They look a lot like pathways, but it's just tools that they can use if they choose to. Well, again, as the coordinator facilitator, you need to know all of that. So you've got to go through all of what you're asking them to go through. Well, that's only part of it, because on this side of the screen is another lesson plan or actual curriculum for you as the coordinator facilitator. And you open that up and there's lesson after lesson after lesson after. Then there's a button called resources. Lots of good stuff. It has some agendas. It has other tools for your use. Then there are instructions on how you upload and get credit for your speech crafters, because you need, as the coordinator, go in there, and it's not particularly a laborious process, particularly after you've done it 2 or 3 times and you've figured out, oh, that's what that button does. So again, I'm just suggesting that as coordinator facilitators, we need to give ourselves lots of lead time to look at that before we jump into what we're doing with the program. So to answer the question, I hope I've answered some of it. There's a lot of material here. I think it makes sense that you first go through it as a participant, then come back, and now you can really focus on what it takes to be a facilitator. If you're trying for the first time to learn all the stuff the participants got to do, plus all the stuff you've got to do, you better plan on 15, 20 hours of prep time just to work through all of it.
Well, Fred, thank you, because
Awesome.
that cues up Vicky's question here. Should we purchase a Speechcraft now in order to get the training? Yes. And then back to Jen. Thank you. You had a great question too for Fred. What's your experience with Speechcrafters attending or finishing the whole 8-week session? So in all of those which you have conducted and supported facilitation, Fred, what's your experience with them finishing the 8-week? I know I did, and I wanted more, and I stayed in the club 3 decades more. Go ahead, Fred.
Well, first of all, I love the way that TI is very descriptive as opposed to prescriptive in so many of its approaches on how we do things. So for Speechcraft, you can do Speechcraft in a 4-session rather than 8, or a 6-session rather than 8. I choose to do 4 sessions. Why? Because of the scheduling challenges. So what I do is I run 2-hour programs, run 4 of them. It's the same amount of contact time with the students or the speech crafters. You're looking about 8 hours, maybe a little bit if you run a little long. But I asked the folks up front, so for the program I'm doing on December 9th, I sat down with each one of them 15 minutes and said, this is what we're going to do, blah, 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 and I get a commitment. Now, you are going to make all 4 sessions, barring sickness or whatever, right? And during those 2 hours, you are going to be there, right? Now, they might seem like a strange question, but on one of the Speechcraft that I did this year, I had an individual who said, yes, I will be there, and the individual attended all 4 sessions. But at each session, she put a note in the text box, a chat box, I got to step out for an hour to take my son to violin lessons. I'll be back. What? Are you kidding me? So now I'm going, yes, and you will be there for the full 2 hours. You're not going to step out and get your car washed or get your hair cut or something, right? Right? We're all in a, yeah, okay. So for me, what I found is by asking folks and setting the table, I tell them what the expectations are. I tell them this is what's going to be the flow of the meeting. We go through, I get them excited. I want to get them excited, answer their questions, allay any nervousness, and get them excited. So when they come to the first session, they're geared up, and those 2 hours fly by, and we have 100% participation, and we have 100% attendance, and now we even have 100% within 100% because they actually sit there for the full 2 hours.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. Okay, so we have a quick question in the Mary Jo. I'm going to come to you. And what languages is Speechcraft currently offered in? Only English. However, there is a full translation team at World Headquarters. And let's bring that over to Mary Jo. Thank you, Fred. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Will any district be offering the opportunity for a person like myself who would like to be a participant first, and then a coordinator later on? Are there any sessions set up for January or so?
Mary Jo, what happened? What if you convinced your club to host one and you participated in your own club Speechcraft series?
I don't believe anyone that I know of has participated in it. So I'm looking for the more experienced
okay.
person
Got it.
to
Got
run
it. Okay, I get it. All right. All right. Well, then let's see which district you're in 83. Okay. So we would probably suggest going back to your program quality director or your club growth director and inquire. And if your district, let's see, does 83 have a Speechcraft coordinator for the district? Anne, do you know?
No, I'm the club extension chair. No, I've been
For 83?
porting District 83 to District 38 coordinator training.
Okay. You know what? I would put a post out on Facebook and ask. I would say, who is having a hybrid, or if you don't want to travel, an online, a virtual Speechcraft program that you could attend, even though you are currently a member, and go through the whole process, you know, and pay your whatever the tuition is and have the full on experience. Bring your laptops, have a guide. I think that's a great suggestion, Fred. Thank you. There you go, Mary Jo. We're good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're enrolled. I love it. Yay. Okay, got it. Who else has questions? And then, Fred, what else would you like to suggest? I mean, you're just a wealth of information here. What? Let's see, Jen. Have we answered all your questions? Do we have more, Jen?
As a matter of fact, I do. I do like to get some experience from those who have done it. What's a good duration between Speechcraft program? Do we do it weekly, bi-weekly, or even?
Good question. All right. And how would you respond to that?
If you can, I do it. I would do it bi-weekly. There are those that do it weekly, and you can get through it quicker. And also, it's not as long as a time commitment. So if you can get that commitment for weekly, that would be ideal. But if not, you can do it every 2 weeks. Again, it depends on your participants. It depends on where it originates from. If I was to originate it, I would do it every week. In my case, it was dictated by the client, so to speak, and their schedules. So that was every 2 weeks. If I could dictate, I would do it every week. And I would do it for 8 straight weeks is what I would do. And
Okay.
because I don't know that I would be able to get the commitment for 2 hours every week for 4 straight weeks. So there's a lot of flexibility in it.
Mhm.
And it also depends on your client who's going to be attending. If it's corporate CEOs, it's going to be 4
Mhm.
weeks. If it's community leaders, it's going to be 4 weeks. And you have to cater to your client base. Does that answer your question, Jen?
Thank you, Anne.
That is true. Fred, and let's see. So Fred has conducted these in as brief as 4 sessions, 2 hours each. Great commitment. Would you say that that's pretty much the norm for the sessions that you help inspire and facilitate?
Yeah, it is, because I organize them and I just want to do it 4 consecutive weeks. So when I do the December session on December 9th, we'll meet for 4 Saturdays in a row. There's 5 Saturdays in December. The first Saturday is our TLI. So the subsequent Saturdays, we're meeting from 8 to 10 Eastern. Bam. In January, 4 consecutive Saturdays. I'm running one from 8 to 10 for a club, and then from running another one for a club from 10 to 12, 4 consecutive Saturdays. When I set them up for February and March, same thing. 4 consecutive. Why? Because I find that the juice, the excitement, the people can't wait for the next Saturday. And the stories, let me tell you, we have a gal, Paulina is her name. She's from Ecuador. She's probably, I guess, in her late 20s, early 30s. She's been in the US about 10 years, has a terrible fear of speaking. I should say she had a terrible fear of speaking. She's a good speaker. She just didn't believe that she was a good speaker. She came to our Speechcraft 4-session, 4 Saturdays, and she no longer fears the dragon called glossophobia. She slayed the dragon of glossophobia. Glossophobia is the name for the fear of speaking in public. And she said on the very last session, because at the very end, what I like to do is, okay, we're finished. Let's do a debrief. What just happened over the past 4 weeks? And she said something that I had heard before. Then she said something I'd never heard before. The first thing she said is, I no longer fear speaking in public. And
That's what it's
then,
all about.
and
Mhm.
then she said, now I know what it's like not to be afraid to stand and speak in public.
That's beautiful.
My wife, who's a Toastmaster, just got her DTM. She's been in Toastmasters 5.5, 6 years. She would always have brain freeze until she took Speechcraft this, I think it was February, March. And she no longer has it. She said, Fred, I don't know what happened in Speechcraft, but I'm not afraid anymore.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
How
Well,
much
I'll
time
add.
do we have? I got
I know.
story after
I
story.
know. And I'll add to that. Here I went from 19 ahs and ums and physically crying tears down my face to an international professional accredited speaker. So thanks to Toastmasters, and I would not be doing what it is that I'm doing had it not been for Toastmasters. I see a couple of hands up, so we do want to address those. Fred, thank you. So Carlos, thank you. You're asking if can members of your club take the Speechcraft program? Yes, and we strongly encourage it. By the way, my sessions were, when I joined, were 8 consecutive weeks. And I can tell you, we did build, and because that was a regular meeting, and then you just had it every single meeting, and our meetings were 7 to 8:30 a.m. So yes, members of your club participate, but they do not need to pay for the Speechcraft program. They get to hear, and matter of fact, when the educational sessions are provided during the Speechcraft, Ann and I strongly recommend, Fred probably does too, the Better Speaker series set, which is free. And all of those are the educational topics to be presented during those meetings. Your club members can not only serve as guides, because your club will need to have guides, and it takes the full support of your club village, you do, and that they can be the evaluators. They're working with the speech crafters. They're invigorated, they're re-energized by seeing the transformation of these non-members coming in. So yes, they can. And it is not only for non-members. The speech crafters are those who pay, or let's see. So when Mary Jo does to become a participant, she will invest in the tuition there as well. So thank you for that. And Jen, let's see, do you still have a question there? I think your hand just came down, but you still have a question? Go ahead.
I just have a quick follow-on question to Fred. In his 4 weeks, 2-hour sessions, how many speeches does the speech crafter complete?
Usually 4. They usually do 1 per session. I throw them in the deep end. I have them give them the speech the first time because we don't have 8 weeks. We do have 2 hours.
So I get them to do the icebreaker on the first session. Sorry to interrupt. Okay.
Unless we have somebody who's super shy, because we don't want to add to their stress. We're not here to give more material to their therapist, for goodness sakes. We want to help them. So maybe they only do 3, but usually most people do 1 per session.
Mm-hmm. Good question on that. And then the follow-up, let's see. So Ruth, you're asking, does the club get the 5 participants? Yes, you do. And shoot for more than 5. That way, 2 people in your club can get credit for the coordinator. And again, why not? You're going through the same efforts. Why not? Every Speechcraft program that I've been involved in has brought in 10 to 15 new members. We went from a club that was dying with 8 people showing up at the meetings, 10 officially on the roster. We had a special event, a free seminar, not an open house, which, by the way, Pat Johnson, in my conversation with her yesterday, said corporations cannot have open houses. It's a corporate rule. So don't call it an open house, call it a free training session. Hear the terminology. And they're not members, they're investing in tuition in this educational training program. So yes, we did them as weekly, and all of that is in the Speechcraft coordinator's information, all of the agendas for it, whether it's a 4, 6, or an 8-week session. And again, as Ann had said, tailor it, absolutely tailor it to who are the participants for that. And Anne, I already answered this question. Is there an expiration date on the digital bundle? No, as long as you do not activate and start your session on the Speechcraft portal. So that gives you plenty of time to go in and look. All right, Felicia. All right. So I want to be a participant in Fred's next Speechcraft. How do I get signed up? Fred, you can connect with Felicia right there. All right, Anne, I'm going to toss this back to you. What else? What else?
Oh my
Inspire
God.
us.
Oh, well, all I can say is we got 5 minutes left. And this has been a nonstop, constant question and answer. And Cheryl and Fred, I cannot thank you enough for coming and being a part of this with the wealth of knowledge that you have. I have learned so much myself. Lynn asked here, can I be a helper virtually? So she wants to come join and help virtually whoever's going to be having a Speechcraft. She wants to participate and be a volunteer for a facilitator. Is that what you're asking? The December training is on December 11th.
11th.
And I will send out an email to anyone that's been here who is here today. I sent an email out with the upcoming event for December 11th, which is on Monday from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. And it'll be an hour-and-a-half session, and it is a deep dive. It is a deep dive into what you need to do as a coordinator, into what Fred was talking about. So
it's the best tutorial I have ever seen. Really, really well. That's why I'm here tonight, is to be of support to Anne. I'm putting 3 of my handouts into the chat box there. Make sure to download everything before we close out and save the chat, the 3 little dots down at the bottom. Go ahead, Anne. I'm just keeping everything up to date here.
all right,
Go ahead.
yeah, yes, there were so many questions. I got lost tracked in that and trying to upload. So it's been a wonderful session. Thank you, Cheryl, for uploading your flyers into Speechcraft.
And Fred's. And 3 of Fred's handouts.
And Fred's handout. So that was fantastic. Does anyone have any final questions? Yes, Sue Brooks.
Yes, would you like me to take a family photo?
Yes.
Oh, please do. Yes, everybody, if you can. Let's
Okay.
go on gallery and please bring your beautiful
Hey,
faces
hi,
on.
Roxanne. Glad you're here.
Okay.
She knows what
she
she's
is.
doing too. Hey,
Ladies and
Roxanne.
Ladies and gentlemen, full disclaimer mouse type. Put your cameras on and keep your
Come
smile
on, Felicia, District 14.
If you want to be in the family photo to help promote future Speechcrafts and to have a memory of tonight, I'll give you the prompt once I'm ready to photograph you.
I apologize, guys. I'm gonna have to sign off. I don't look the best for this.
All right. You take care. You
Okay,
take care.
thank you,
Okay.
Take care,
Nadia.
Take care.
Natasha. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Prayers go with
Okay.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, take it after she signs off. That's great. Okay. Wait, don't smile yet. Hold on. I have to
Can't help it. We had so much fun tonight.
it was wonderful. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you so much. I'll be uploading this in the chat so you can have a record of tonight's excitement.
Thank you. Roxanne Spring, when is the next session that you are conducting? You can't be here and not say anything. District 2, if I remember correctly.
Right.
District 2. Actually, I don't think we have the date yet, so I can't announce it. I'm so sorry.
If you would reach out to at least Anne and me with when it is, or if there's a recording for the sessions you have done, please let us know that. You're doing wonderful work in District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate being amongst all of you.
Oh, this is wonderful. We are creating a Speechcraft family, and we are going to see growth in our districts across the world. And that's what this is about.
Yay, us. You know, it's interesting because I feel like we're revitalizing it because pre-COVID, we had the legacy program, we had the books, we had all of that. During COVID, something happened and we all forgot about Speechcraft. So let's bring it back. And the best ways is in the example that I showed from my own story is ask people, what are their challenges? What do you need? We are the solution to their problem. to their issues, to their challenges, to their desired outcome. We need to start by asking questions first and then bring them into the Toastmaster family through a 4, 6, or 8-week communication skills series. You never know how long somebody's going to stay in this organization because you invited them. Yeah.
That is so true, Cheryl. So true. Look, 36 years.
36
Out in
years.
San Diego at a Mexican restaurant.
At a Mexican restaurant.
8 o'clock in the morning
Oh my gosh.
in San Diego.
In San Diego. All right. So save the chat, please. Sue, thank you very much for our family photos in that. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Thank you very
Everybody,
much.
if you can, download that photo before you sign off. It's a beautiful picture.
Oh,
It
thank
really
you.
is.
Anne and Fred, thank you very much for organizing this party and for inviting me to be part of it. Thank you for each of you, your quality interest in this program and your passion for Toastmasters. You are the heart of this organization. Thank you for attending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And,
and happy Thanksgiving to all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Jen. And I just have to say, Fred and Cheryl, you have mentored me so much with Speechcraft. And have taught me so much that I am forever indebted to both of you. And I am just very blessed to have both of you in my life. I can say that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's been a wonderful, and I owe this all to my district director, who talked about me as the Speechcraft coordinator down at the convention and introduced me to District 13 and District 27 district directors. And Cheryl Rouse happened to come to a presentation I did for District 13, Anne Marie Givens. Wow. And then Fred, well, I just went to his sessions and met him in April and May. He was running sessions as a Division B director out there in District 13. I was searching the web for different classes. And what a wonderful connection. And because of him, I've connected with District 14 with Natalie and Felicia. And because of Cheryl, I now know Roxanne. Your network just grows. Anne Mellison. It has just been a wonderful experience. And I am having a blast in meeting my fellow Toastmasters and sharing this beautiful, beautiful tool we have in Speechcraft. So it was wonderful to see you all. And I will send you the invite to the December 11th. You're here as participants. You've been to them before. Oh, well, you might want to come again, so you'll get the invite. But if you're busy and you've been there, I understand. But I don't want to leave anybody out. So have a good night, everyone.
Thank you again.
Hope
Thank you
you've come
again.
away with a lot of tips.
Yes, a lot of information. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Go again.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne. And
Oh,
Golden.
thank you, Sue.
And Golden.
Thank you.
And
Thank
will
you.
be able to send out this recording?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I
I
definitely
could not
will.
be here for every bit of it. I'm so sorry. That's why I was off camera.
Glad
Don't
you
worry
came.
about it.
Glad you came, Roxanne.
Every
Good to
minute
have
I
you here.
get to it, I love it. So
That's right.
No, I will
Right,
be
it
sending the link
shows.
out for the video.
Okay.
Marion, thank you for coming from District 45. It's so nice to see you. Thank
I'm
you. And Ruth,
partnering with her.
Thank you.
She's
I'm
I
so
will-
excited to be working with Sue. We're going to be doing a Speechcraft.
I love it.
awesome.
We're
I
doing
love it.
it for District 119.
Oh, there you go for New York.
Oh,
And
wow.
Marion,
Yes.
I will be your keynote speaker for your spring conference in May.
Yes.
They just
In
booked me
Freeport,
Awesome.
Maine.
in Freeport, Maine.
Yes. And Marion,
Wow.
I talked to Tanisha yesterday in District 119
There
for
you go.
Great.
in
There you
person.
go.
Great.
So
Good district.
Thank you.
Good district. Okay.
she
Thank
might
you.
wanna good night. She might want to collaborate with us, Marion.
More than likely. Good
All
night,
right.
everyone. Thank you. Great
Fabulous. Thank
session.
you again.
Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for
Bye.
attending.
Good night.